Please put your hands or fins or claws or whatever you have together for Emma Boster from Dying Wish. Welcome to Pulse of the Maggots, Emma. So glad to have you on.
Thank you. I've never done this before, so
that's two.
Appreciate you having me.
Two right in a row.
Two for two. 2 for 2.
Perran and I listened to your track beforehand. I've listened to it like repeatedly over the weekend. Perran, I don't know if you've been doing the same thing as I have. I don't know.
I've listened to this and an 8 First from last year like enough times for the both of us.
So sick.
Great. So I do want to chat that track, but before we get into that, so with that track announcement, you guys announced your debut album, Fragments of Bitter Memory, which is coming out on October 1st via Sharptone Records. Congratulations on that. I'm curious, when you think about the first steps that it took to kind of pull that album and start like building that album, putting that together to now, like what sticks out the most in that journey for you all?
A man named Randy, who was our producer when we were in the studio. I feel like if you listen to Innate, Thirst, and Enemies, the songs are good, but we wrote those songs entirely by ourselves. And Randy really kind of helped us elevate it and put it on another level. So shout out to Randy for sure.
Yeah, and I told Perran before, and I told him, I was like, I don't think this is going to offend anybody, but I will tell you straight to your face, I thought that this was the best thing that I've heard from you guys so far. And you know, awesome. Again, I only know a couple of tracks because I was only introduced to you guys last year when Innate Thirst came out, so I was able to dig back after that. But like, I don't know, the writing process that you guys had. I know that you all obviously are in Portland, and there was a lot of unrest in Portland last summer. I think right about before you guys went into the studio. Did that affect or influence the writing and recording process in any way?
Absolutely. I mean, we've always been a band that wants to talk politically. And seeing a lot of the things that happened here last year really inspired us, to write a couple songs that are really important to us about abolition and protest and stuff like that. There's definitely a lot of different topics happening on the record, but that's for sure there. And we're always going to be pissed and angry about what's going on. So you can expect that from us.
Yeah, I was like when we were saying just before, John kind of was introduced you guys with Innate First last year, and I heard you guys when obviously the Not to Loose record came out a couple of years ago, and you're featured on that. And I have to say, you're probably tired of talking about it, but it's such a moment when you're listening to like a quite hyped record from a band like Not to Loose, who have a lot of eyes on them, and a guest vocalist comes on from a band you've never heard of before, and like steals the entire track and gets everyone talking about it. And I feel like like since then it felt like the name Dying Wish, just because of that almost that one track, suddenly appeared on so many people's radar, and so many people were looking forward to kind of hearing more music from your band. Was it, I guess, weird to kind of have people almost like clamoring for music from you before you've got your first album out or anything like that? Or was that, I guess, more fuel for the fire to kind of really go in and attack it?
Oh, I mean, I think we love it, honestly. And we've been pretty tactful about, our timing with rolling out this record and everything. I think that it's the perfect timing for us, honestly, to be able to tour off of this record and not just, put it out and then sit on it. So, yeah, but it definitely put a fire under our ass and, kind of constantly reminded us like, hey, people still care, which was really cool because, it's been almost a year since we put out Innate Thirst and people are still hanging in there with us. So it's pretty sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it definitely feels like it's weird that it's been a year since Innate Thirst, because it feels, again, like time's just completely...
It doesn't exist anymore, dude.
Yeah, completely blurred. But I'm sure that, again, there were a lot of bands kind of in your position who put out stuff last year who by this stage a year on are just like absolutely head in hands like, oh my god, why have we not toured this yet?
Right. Yeah.
So transitioning to the title track, Fragments of a Bitter Memory, one of the things that I noticed from it that was that separated it from the other songs that I've heard from you guys is the very, it starts out in a more like vulnerable, tender way almost, right? I mean, you're still screaming and delivering the lines, like you said, you're pissed off and everything like that in there. But even just like as the song goes on, like it takes you on a journey, and then coupled with the music video, I get a little bit of that lump right there in the throat, because I can like really feel the emotion that you're harnessing through that. Is that something that style, that vulnerable, raw style of lyricism, that's something that comes easy to you, or has that been a journey for you to do?
I mean, it's definitely hard to be vulnerable and to realize that I'm telling this very personal story to an unimaginable amount of people. So it definitely took, a little bit of conditioning, me putting myself out there to really feel comfortable and put myself on a level where I could write a song that personal and speak it to so many people, for sure.
Yeah, we were commenting again on the kind of the slightly larger kind of emotional range that you hear in this song compared to some of the music you put out in the past. And I guess we were wondering, like obviously when you've got this album in front of you that's however many tracks, like are we expecting a similar kind of, I guess, diversity across tracks?
Yes. Yeah. It's a very emotional record. There's, it's sad. There's like, some protest anthems. There's just songs that are about nonsensical violence, songs about being a survivor, songs about falling in love. So definitely a pretty diverse lineup, but it's all, we tried to get pretty deep with all of it. So
Sure. When you say nonsensical violence, is that like a kind of almost like a fantasy escapist thing, or?
Kind of. Yeah, Enemies in Red is just kind of like a revenge track.
Gotcha.
But No Patience Left. I've got my grips on your neck. Like just stuff like that, that's just kind of fantasy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, the music sounds violent as hell, so why not?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Was it Randy you mentioned earlier who produced the record? Because I was thinking it sounds like immaculate for the kind of music that it is.
Thank you. Yeah, Randy LaBeouf at Inner. No, I don't want to say the wrong studio, but he works with alongside Will Putney. So out there in Belleville, New Jersey. So yeah,
Gotcha.
We were out there for 5 weeks.
Yeah, well, shout out him. It sounds great.
Yeah, thank you.
Perran mentioned the sound of the band, and it's even just like the song that we're discussing. We were talking about how there is a cool nostalgia almost to it, right? Because of, and I don't think that this is anything that you guys haven't heard before, right? Where people harken back to the the early 2000s metalcore scene, right? There's some like Swedish melodeath in there and like all of that other stuff. Was that something that was a conscious decision when you all got together to write, or did that kind of happen organically?
Well, our guitar player, Sam, he writes most of the riffs, and he's been very influenced by Lamb of God, Black Dahlia Murder, Bleeding Through, Kill Switch Engage. So I think what we're like trying to go for is like a Trust Kill vibe mixed with like a Lamb of God arena metal like kind of vibe. So, but still staying true to our roots in hardcore and the ethics of hardcore music and what we believe in.
God, I would be fascinated to hear some of the more, I guess, I don't know how far you're pushing it, but the bleeding through kind of, almost gothic side of the equation would be fascinating to hear. It's interesting that you mentioned the like the Trust Kill thing, which is obviously that's kind of an iconic name of that era of metalcore and kind of hardcore, where you have those kind of labels putting out a lot of this stuff. Obviously, this is coming out on Sharp Tone, and it's almost like right now, there are a lot of similar, almost like names where people will say like Closed Casket Records and Pure Noise and Sharp Tone and stuff like that. Do you feel like you know, there's almost a similar level of like really good homes are like across the board for bands like yourself right now, in a similar way to, you know, in the early 2000s with names like Trustkill.
Yeah, I feel like it is a little more diverse, not everybody being on, you know, kind of the same brand as Trustkill, you know. I do feel like, besides there is Bleeding Through is on Sharp Tone, I do feel like we kind of stand out a little bit on that record label, but it's really it's cool, you know, that we can kind of be like a dark horse in a way. Just that we're a little bit different sounding than a lot of the bands on that label. But, you know, Pure Noise and Closed Casket's awesome. They're definitely more ingrained in like the hardcore roots and stuff like that. But yeah, it's you see it everywhere now.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone wants to be the coolest, edgiest band on their label, so why the hell not?
True.
Speaking of that, you know, the hardcore ethos and everything like that. That you know, you mentioned it before that, you know, this is you're a band that, you know, proudly wears its politics on its sleeve and everything like that. On your website, you say that abolition, revolution, liberation in spirit and song is the heart of Dying Wish, which I think is like just put that over like your tour bus or something like that. I think that's like a great slogan. And like, speaking of touring, y'all are about ready to go out on the road with Acacia Strain a little bit later this year. How do you think, and you know, I don't even know if this is anything that you've given any thought, but how do you think that you carry that message of your band now on the road and on tour to people that may or may not have ever seen you before?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just the words in the song, and maybe, you know, we print merch that kind of has a message on it more, or, you know, when we have an opportunity to speak about important things, we do that. I don't know. I think on a tour like the Acacia Strain, people will get it a little more than, you know, if we were to go on tour with like bigger metal bands, like when we really are elevating to a level where, you know, people, you know, maybe they believe in like Blue Lives Matter, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, for us to be able to reach like an entirely different level of understanding, I guess, if that makes sense. I feel like that's actually when we'll be challenged. You know, playing on like way bigger stages with people who are not educated on, you know, stuff like abolition and really radical politics on the left. So, but yeah, I think it's gonna be difficult, but I think that we just kind of carry it with us, and we'll never be afraid to talk about it.
That's great. And in a similar note, now that y'all are getting ready to go on tour, what is the first word that comes to your mind as that date is getting closer?
Let's fucking go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm super eager. That first show, like, I think I'm gonna be speechless, honestly. Like, that first show that we get on stage, I think I'm just gonna say, "We're Dying Wish," and like play
Just destroy
as hard
everybody.
as I possibly can. Yeah. Yeah.
Every bone will be broken in everybody's body. I was telling Perran earlier that I looked up the tickets for the 2 Nashville dates, and I was too late. It is sold out, so I will be like across the street listening to you guys over there. I think it's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. Perran, do you have anything else for Emma?
Well, I guess on my end, like, whenever you're able to get to the UK, like, I know obviously it's a bit of an ask for some bands, like, kind of just to travel anywhere, particularly the UK at the moment with how things are going. But like, moment it happens, I'm there.
Oh, it's absolutely on our radar and something we have to do. So as soon as we get the opportunity, we'll be out there for sure.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Emma, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, this has been Emma Boster from Dying Wish. You can pick up Fragments of a Bitter Memory on October 1st via Sharp Tone Records. Pre-order that shit right now. Mazza has the link for it somewhere in there. And Emma, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.